Hey, thanks for clicking on this video. This is going to start off with talking about some Instagram growth, but then turn into a listen to me talk about my bad decisions video. So if that sounds like a good few minutes of your time, then let's do it. It all started one day when I opened my Instagram app and realized I had 307 people following me on Instagram. And since then, more people have followed me, which just blows my mind. At the time of recording this, there are 315 people following me, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. After I made this amazing discovery, I put up a poll to figure out what we should do to celebrate. And shockingly, Bake Yourself Something Nice won, which I think says a lot about the people following and supporting me. You guys are so nice, thank you. After that, I put up another poll to figure out what I should bake. The results were a little obvious. I mean, come on, you can't put a classic in the poll and expect it to not win. So after playing a quick game of fetch with my dog, Goob, me and my sisters drove to the store and bought what we needed. The recipes I used, which I will link in the description, were very basic, simple, fail-proof recipes. But of course, I had to be extra. I had to do more. So I decided I would make the SpongeBob cookies lemon flavored and the Patrick cookies strawberry flavored. And to make it even more extra, I would use fresh lemons and fresh strawberries to achieve these flavors. A very neat idea that ended up turning into one of the worst decisions I have ever made. I'll explain why later. I started with the dough, getting all the ingredients and then mixing everything together. I was very careful not to break more than one spatula this time.
Just broke. We need a new spatula. I was just trying to scoop the cookie dough out and it just snapped in half.
And I even remembered to bandage my bleeding wounds this time instead of using it as extra flavor. Once the dough formed, I separated it into 2 bowls and started adding the extra bits. For the lemon cookies, it was easy. Step 1, cut the lemons. Wait, no, that's not right. Step 1 is to zest the lemons. Oh well. Step 1, cut the lemons. Step 2, realize your stupidity and struggle as you zest the halved lemons. Step 3, juice the lemons. Step 4, add zest and juice to the SpongeBob half of the dough. See? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Now for the strawberry dough, this is where things got tricky and way too complicated. Initially, I wanted to just use dried strawberries, but I was later convinced to use fresh strawberries. My plan was to dice some of them and put those in the batter, then use the rest to make a strawberry syrup to add some flavor. So I started dicing my strawberries, of which there were a lot to dice, and into the dough they went. Then I chopped the rest of the strawberries and put them into a pot with some water and sugar. I let that boil until I got scared. Then I let it simmer until the strawberries lost most of their vibrant color. I strained the whole thing to make a strawberry syrup. Now, it was around this point that I realized just how much work I was getting myself into. Here's where we remember that I said that deciding to make these lemon and strawberry flavored was the worst decision I could have made. If you follow me on Instagram or Ko-fi, or pay close attention to some of my other long-form videos, you'll know that I am chronically ill. Some of my symptoms are leg pain, headaches, and fatigue. My symptoms get worse when I overwork myself. To be honest, I didn't even want to start baking these cookies the day that I did. I was already in a flare-up and not feeling well, but I started making them anyways. You know why? Because I bought fresh strawberries. And every day that I didn't bake these cookies was another day closer to these strawberries' demise. So I strayed from the recipe, and because I decided to be extra, and because I couldn't bear the thought of these strawberries going to waste, by the time I was preparing the strawberries, I was exhausted. I told myself that it would be all worth it though. The cookies would still look and taste good, and it would all work out in the end, right? Wrong. As I was adding everything to my dough, I realized I was adding a lot more liquid than the recipe called for. I didn't think that it was a big deal, I just added flour to compromise. Unfortunately, I greatly underestimated how much liquid I was adding. The SpongeBob cookies were fine because the zest was a rather dry flavor enhancer, but the Patrick cookies not only had moisture from the syrup, but the berry chunks as well. So I just kept adding more and more and more flour, and mixing it, and mixing it, and mixing it until I realized this consistency was off. And then all my years worth of knowledge from watching baking shows flooded back to me. I overmixed the dough. I was adding so much flour so little at a time that in order to incorporate it into the dough, I severely overmixed it and caused the gluten to form, making the dough very rubbery and stretchy. At least, I'm pretty sure that's how the science works. By that point, I was already really tired and beginning to become upset that it wasn't working out. I realized that my camera battery was almost out, so both me and my camera took a little break. I decided I would roll, shape, and bake the cookies once my camera battery was over 50% charged, because likely by then I too would be over 50% charged. I got back to it and quickly realized that overmixed dough is not fun to roll out and shape, but I pushed through it and cut out all the starts that I could. The SpongeBob dough was actually not too bad, but it was a little more fragile than the Patrick dough. I had to roll it out a lot thicker in order to be able to transfer it to the baking sheets, which meant I had a lot less SpongeBob cookies despite dividing the dough pretty equally. Finally, they went into the oven. And that was it for me. I was tired, in pain, and frustrated that more than half of the cookies weren't turning out. I ended up turning the camera off and going to take a nap, deciding I would decorate them another day. After a good nap, a good cry, and a good night's sleep, I woke up the next morning feeling a lot better. I was still in pain from the day before, but my mindset had improved, and I felt like I really wanted to try decorating. I made a simple royal icing and threw away my ideas of trying to flavor them. I separated them into 500,000 bowls and added food coloring. Then I got out my piping tools and got to work. I used a couple of references and started by just piping the outlines. Between each layer, I'd go and lay down and take a little break while I waited for it to dry. Then I'd go in and fill things up. It was actually a lot of fun, especially when I got to adding the faces. And here they are, the finished cookies. Go ahead, laugh, I know that they're ridiculous. My decorating skills leave a lot to be desired, but I learned a lot about pacing while making these, and I relearned a lot about baking too. I think the moral of the story is never try to customize a recipe you've never made before. And also, whether you struggle with chronic illness or not, look out for yourself. Take extra steps or remove steps that are necessary to help you get through your day and make tasks easier, because we all get tired, and sometimes what would take someone else a couple hours to complete takes you a couple days to complete, and that's okay. Anyways, thank you all again for the continued love and support. I appreciate it more than you know. I hope you got something out of this video. Adios.